So we're using these like kind of fake microphones, I think, right? And we have Banyan on Zoom. I don't know if we can bring Banyan up now. Can you hear us? Yeah, Banyan, can we get your video on? Thanks so much. And we also have Banyan from Karenni Human Rights Group joining us. Today's conversation is about investigating atrocity crimes during wartime violence and the challenges and the opportunities that arise during investigations during wartime. And I think there's similarities that we can glean from the situation in Ukraine and Myanmar, and there's also a lot of differences. So today will be an interesting conversation to learn about those similarities and differences. I'm just going to quickly introduce the panel, and then we'll go into question and answers. We have Oksana, a co-executive director of Hounds. Before joining Hounds, she was the leader of Amnesty International in Ukraine. We have Banyan, who's joining us on Zoom from Karenni State inside Myanmar. He is the founder of Karenni Human Rights Group and a member of the Executive Council of Karenni State, which is the local governance structure that's resisting the Myanmar military. Thank you, Banya, for joining us. We also have Jam from Fortify Rights here with us today. She's a associate human rights specialist, and she investigates refugee outflows from the Myanmar war. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Just to start us off, I think, can we begin with Hounds? And can you talk to us a little bit about Hounds as an organization and the general human rights situation in Ukraine?
Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a big honor for us to be here and to talk today about Ukraine and the work of Hounds. So Hounds was found in Ukraine in 2014, just after the annexation of Crimea and occupation of parts of Ukraine. So we started as documenters. So first we were documenting the process, and what was going on at the time. And we were developing in this process and in this area very much, and started from 2018, 2019. We even decided to go beyond Ukraine, so we worked in different countries on documenting war crimes or documented different forms of violation of human rights during the conflict. And but after, in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. So after the full-scale invasion, we returned back fully to, and for all our attention we returned to Ukraine. And now, since the date of the full-scale invasion, we focus our efforts on work on Ukraine. So what we do, we call it the whole circle of, the full circle. So we do documentation, investigation, we build the legal strategy, and sometimes we represent people in legal entities, whatever it will be, the international legal entities or local legal entities, I mean the courts or whatever. So we do the whole circle of investigation process. So from the beginning, when we do work on the ground, till, if it's possible, till the decision is taken by the court. That's what we do.
And can you tell me a little bit about the kinds of crimes that you're documenting in Ukraine right now?
So the Hounds is more ever on the working around different strikes. So it's about and different atrocities. So we were working on documentation of torture. We were working a lot around, you know, it's okay? Okay. Don't hear us? Speak louder, okay. We work also on strikes, I mean the air strikes. So that's something that was in the focus of our work for many, many years. But now we went a bit beyond, and we started discovering the area of crimes against I forgot the word, sorry.
Like
environmental crimes, sorry, yes, thank you very much, environmental crimes. So it's something very new for us, but we have already released big research on in this area, and we want to develop our work there.
Thank you. That kind of is helpful to lay the groundwork for us to also talk about Myanmar, which I think also experiences similar kinds of atrocities. Banya, I don't know if you can open your camera and share a little bit about the work of Karenni Human Rights Group and why you founded the organization, and also the kinds of crimes that you're documenting inside the country. Thank you so much for calling in from Karenni State today.
First of all, yeah, I can see that group of from the state, given about the 45 people, young and activists, in 2026, in the May meeting, so we started about group, we call it human rights group, Ukraine group. The idea is how after we think about what we should do in the state. After I'm back from Thailand, and then try to do something social work in the state. So I look around. There were several areas that a lot of people are kept up already, but one area is still missing. It's about human. So I talked with all my friends together with some who have experience in attending TOT by the Human Rights Education Institute of Banya. So far we call it. So we check in yes, this is the area this is about human rights. So human rights education is our key area that we research about. And the following which we said, okay, many decades in the past that we haven't had any conflict, the case that document social being abused or violated by both sectors, even the armed organizations and also the state governments or the military governments in part. So this is the idea this is the area that we should do also. One is the human rights workers, human rights norms. The second is that we need to document some of the human rights violations, and then we need to do a backup investigations on the human rights violation. This is the idea that we come out so far when we started the war in the States. And I know that after the coup, and then we almost lost our, vision. So in our vision, it's quite clear, we said build a human rights culture in the States. So we lost, even I myself, so I lost my hope that what will be next. So we've been running around in the jungle, and then there were several people who fleeing from the city, and then reached out to the jungle without any, proper conditions of living conditions. So this is another round. After, actually it took about 6 months. So all the team members of the prison network, we search for different areas. So we found different areas in the States. So after 6 months, I just reconcentrate myself that yes, this is the time that we need to do more than before So I can call up all the team members that, okay, let's talk. And then let's set up a mobile office in the jungle. Even though there's a limitation on the internet access and also electricity. And then finally we can come up with a full actually regrouping ourselves again. And then we start to do kind of the human rights documentation first. At the time, this is no more a chance for us to come up with a human rights training with the jungle. When the time people are fled and worry of the security concern and also daily needs of food and shelter, so it's not possible. But we start to do a lot of communication at the time so far. This is now that we struggle among ourselves, not only about honestly what to do. Also, we need to encourage the people. I always told the people that I want to be, I would say, subject. But my responsibility, my accountability is this is about the British American. So our British people also, we are responsible for the right of the people who are being served on this board. So this is what we pass the information to the community member. And so this is so far, and now we are on wings. And so we're so proud that the people in the state are still strong and also very committed. And also our team members also quite strong and committed on human rights implementation, human rights voluntary. And more than enough, sometimes we have a small program on the advocacy and also humanitarian, let's say, things with the people who are in need. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Banya. I was also just wondering, can you tell us the kinds of crimes that Karenni Human Rights Group is documenting inside the country now? I know that you, right around where you are now, there was a few airstrikes recently as well. So what are the kinds of crimes you're documenting before we go over to Jam?
So far, this is what the area is. First is about the attack. So this is frequently is a lot of strikes. This is one about in the months, and also another is about the water sharing and also landmine issue. This is the main, and also another one we call the human shield. And also issue killing by the SAC. This is 4 or 5 areas. But in the conclusions, we also think about the work. We try to focus on try to link up all these human organizations into try again human. This is our focus for human.
Thank you so much, Banyan. I think next we'll go over to Jam. And Jam, your work is mostly speaking to refugees that have fled the ongoing war in Myanmar. Can you tell us a little bit about that work and the work that you're doing with Fortify?
Yeah, so currently I work with Fortify Rights, and we document the crimes, atrocity crimes that happen. We have country working in Myanmar, Thailand, like me, and also like Bangladesh, and currently we also expand in Ukraine. And for myself, I focus more on what happened from Myanmar and people flee to Thailand. So I focus more on kind of like the border issue and people who have impact on the war crimes. So what we document right now is about like people facing kind of like difficulty and the challenge from moving from their hometown to live in another countries with the vulnerability, like could be for their life and the securities. And there's so many like traumas and the issue that they have to face by living in another country. So even like I'm not really like living and working in and kind of like the active like war zone, but it's kind of like we can still like document what happened inside Myanmar by conduct like interview, for example, and sometimes they would help us to connect with people inside like Myanmar. Could be like their families, their friends who have an still like facing those crimes. So there are many times that we feel like even we are outside the country that the war is still ongoing, but it's still kind of like the possibility for us to learn from people that actually living in Thailand right now from like what happened in Myanmar. So that's what we focus on right now. And besides the investigation, we also bring those kind of information like the evidence-based research to do the engage with the kind of like the key person, or could be like we call like the key actors, or could be like the people in the position to make the decision to change the policy, for example, or call for the accountability. So right now it's kind of like when we have strong evidence-based research, we can bring all this information to talk to someone that they have a power to change and to do something. But our research would be more kind of like the survivor center, so they would be the one that telling the story, what happened, and also like gather all the evidence from what happened inside Myanmar. Yeah.
Thank you, Jam. Can you tell us a little bit about the main violations that refugees face in Thailand? What are they facing when they flee? Because I know their story really doesn't end, and the violations don't end on this side of the border.
Yeah, they face many things. Like just like few days ago, like we learned about the pushback. Even like we like implement like so many like domestic law to call like for the Thai government not to push back refugees. And also like the extortion, it could happen many times when people have vulnerability about their status and becoming like undocumented person, because sometimes people just flee and like so many like restriction in Myanmar, or if they know that you are kind of like the resistant group or something, they will not issue the document or the passport. So that create kind of like the vulnerability for people, and at the end, since they are kind of like no like undocumented person, they have to face like the bribery, the extortion in the area. But there's so many kind of layers that they're facing right now, and also like there's so many challenges. For example, like the domestic violence and all the things that could happen in their communities. So we working on that kind of like the situation, and also like in the past year, like when some of our colleagues working in the Cox's Bazar, they also document about the PTSD, like what happened with all those refugees after they fled from the war and the crimes that happened. And we learn what is the things that could create kind of like the mental harm to those people. So that could be one of the things that we document. And it's not just like telling the story what happened, but we actually like bring those to like discuss with people that can change, like or create like the change or something.
Thank you, Jam. That's helpful. I think I want to go back to Truth Hounds, and we were talking yesterday a little bit about the techniques that Truth Hounds use to collect evidence, to preserve evidence, and to document evidence during war. I know in Ukraine there's a lot of drone warfare that's used that's quite sophisticated, and I think in Myanmar we're quite far behind in that kind of sophistication. Can you tell us a bit about how you document war crimes in such a volatile, uncertain time, and the kind of tools that you use to document those violations?
That's a good question, but it will be a long conversation because it really very much depends on what crime we are talking about. So if we talk about the missile attack, it's one thing. So we come on the place and we do all the things just to, to understand from which side the missile was sent, and after we talk to people around, with survivors and witnesses and etc. It's and after we used a lot of OSINT and other forms of open source information, gathering the each, just to reassure who, I would say, we can call it like who pressed the button, so who is responsible, and try to build a chain of command and understand who is the commander. So, just sometimes it's possible to raise the issue on the international level on this. So it's one thing. But very different thing is when you do documentation or work on investigation in occupied territories. It's very much different from not occupied territories. So In Ukraine, we now, as I said, we did the report on environmental crime, and it's about the destruction of Kakhovka dam. Briefly say that it's a big reservoir that was, it's an artificial reservoir that was developed just to cool nuclear reactor. Nuclear reactors of huge nuclear power plant that is now is on territory of Ukraine, but after the full-scale invasion, it was occupied. It was occupied, and there was very little information about what is going on there with the staff members, with the people who were living in the city that were operating around, that was built just to, to support the nuclear power plant. And it was a big challenge for Truth Hound to get the information, so what is there? And I cannot say everything, of course, because it might put some people under their risk. But we use different tools, very different tools, and sometimes we even able to get information from super closed places where it's not so easy to get information from. And what we know after this investigation about the occupation of this nuclear power plant, we were able to, we released a report, and soon in September it will be the second part of this report, where we're talking about how Rosatom is the Russian nuclear agency, how they are involved in the torture, disappearances, and including sexual violence and other forms of pressure on the staff who are mostly high-level specialists of this nuclear power plant. And just saying that we are here, we get information when we come to Thailand that potentially Myanmar might build a nuclear power plant together with Russian Federation or with Rosatom. So we came here just, for many things, and I will talk a bit more about this, but to show what is going on now on our nuclear power plant. This is under the occupation, and what potentially can happen, if there will be Russian influence and other nuclear power plants. So that's why, answering your question, what tools we use different tools. Sometimes it's personal connections, sometimes it's OSINT, sometimes it's just witnessing, sometimes it's classical documentation, and more. But it is very important to be flexible, and to every single time not to stay at the same patterns, and try to be flexible and use different methodologies that might be useful for this particular situation. Not to, but the main, I would say, principle is that every methodology might be survivor-centric. We have to be careful whom we're talking about, how we talk with these people, and what support we can provide to these people in terms of security, psychological, and other support.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I know, I just want to speak for Fortify Rights. We do a lot of referrals when we talk to survivors, and so I feel like sometimes 50% of our work is actually that survivor-centered approach of like not wanting to leave the person worse off than they were when we started talking to them. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Banya, I want to go over to you and ask a similar question. You're working in an area where the internet has been cut off for many years, and that the line of the front line is always changing. I know when I was there last year, you had control of Loikal, and now there's less control. So what is it like documenting war crimes in Karenni State, and what are the challenges and the tools that you're using to be able to document the abuses there?
Yes, one of the is very simple. First thing, people, we have a kind of that platform the format. And this is you can say this is a very old system. It's a very simple one. And secondly, now we try to develop and we're using the phones. We put all these the kind of small we call we buy the small phones for our teams to document, and we put all these format into our phones and then we click on that. So we will do at the same time these two things. Because why? First of all, in the early step, we use the paperwork. It's quite concerned for the victim or the survivor when they see with a kind of paper work in front of them. So this is one of the how to say, for them this will be kind of one of a crucial the second time of the abusers in their mind. So we just decided, okay, why not we find another more easier way for the documenter and also for the survivor to feel more comfort. So we start to use a phone with small like instructions by ourselves, and then we come up. I did two people together when we visit to the area. This is one thing that we try to do. And secondly, also we conduct a lot of we collect a lot of information, and we able to reach out. And then the team will come back, and what we do is according to all the data that we have been collecting within a month. So then we do that kind of verification amongst the teams, that which particular case that we think that this should be we should go on more deeper investigations. And also we also concerned about the security issue also. And then the team will set up another another deeper investigations. So this time we come up with a video clip. So we just approach to them and ask them and request them that we will do more investigations, not only about your suffering, and also about the impact after being your suffering from this kind of abuse. This is another deeper investigation that we go, and then we get without permission, we will not issue any kind of this small video clip as well. And then the third one is about we just marking among ourselves. This is one of the methodologies that we call marking first. This is, we think that's very important. This is the case can be linking into the war crime, or it can be linking into the target community, but we cannot reach out to those areas. We just make a remarking. This is very important for in the future for any deeper investigations that can be lead into the crime against humanity. This is the kind of thing that we are working on together. But very simple, because we cannot use the Google Drive in the deep jungle with a very nice smartphone with the internet. No, it's nothing. So this so far that we just do very simple, very honest to the people. Sometimes with the people world, sometimes with a phone, sometimes with a camera. Very simple one. Yeah, so far.
Example of how human rights documentation is not overly complicated, that anyone can do it, and that survivor communities can document abuses happening in their own communities. I want to go over to Jan because you've worked a little bit with refugee-led communities to document their experiences themselves, and done some participatory action research in MESOT, or are starting to build a research team. I don't know if you can tell us a little bit more about that.
So actually that's still our plan in the future, like maybe we can conduct kind of like the refugee-led research, but also like Fortify rights work used to done that before in the Cox's Bazar, like one of my colleagues used to do that as a team, and because we kind of like aware that the situation could be worse, like the violations still like happen, and like for example, when Banya say about the internet, like lack of the internet access, one of the things that we can do is kind of like strengthen people, like by providing the training program and make them become one of the person that like be the researcher by themselves and start to document what happened in their community and creating the sense of like the group of or the networking, connect people to each other and make them feel like they have the power to step up and start like documenting the violations. And at the end, actually, that helped us a lot in kind of like people in terms of like someone like living outside to understand the context of the area on like what happened. And we'll be planning to kind of like maybe like doing like the same thing in the border area or whatever, but still kind of like the future plan. But what I feel like is kind of like creating like the sense of like the community and connect with local people, because we learn a lot from their insights, like they know the best about what happened to their hometown, and that would help us to understand what happened. And even like for example, like the internet access, I feel like even like when I interviewing like Myanmar people, we still like have the problem like a lot when people just change their phone number, and that make it already like difficult to kind of like have a follow-up interview or whatever. It doesn't need to be just like the internet connection. So what we can do is we can try to get to know like people around them. So when we identify who is the survivor, it's better to also like understand who living like around them, not only just like targeting to one person, but understand like the whole context of like what happened and how that impact to the community. And that giving us a lot kind of like not just like the better understanding, but when we have this kind of like problem, and it's kind of like expanding our network, and also it's make it easier for us to have some access to meet more like survivors. And sometimes we're not only working with just the survivor, Fortify, right? We're trying to conduct like the neutral like research. So we call ourselves like researcher. We are not trying to like like sometimes we would interview like the defector, like we can call perpetrator. I'm not sure, but not to make it like harmful. We are very careful when we want to start like interviewing them, but this is something that can help us to understand what's going on, and even like from their opinion, from their thoughts, and yeah, it's just kind of like helping us to get more insights.
Thank you, Jam. That's really helpful. I want to open it up a little bit. We're about at the hour mark now, and I know there's people joining online, and we have an audience here in person. I have more questions, but I also wanted to open it up for the online audience and people here if you have questions for the panel. Yeah. And I think we have, yeah, go for it.
I just want to say that it's so interesting that you just said, and you both said that everyone can document, and that's just came like pop up something in my mind that I talked about this issue with many human rights defenders in Ukraine, and sadly say, but in Ukraine we mostly call people in occupation not to document if they can. So the only thing they can do is to remember, and the more they can remember, the better. After they go to or found themselves in the Ukrainian controlled territory, they can share this information. But the record might be a reason to be under the different forms of risk. So just saying that in a different context, this might work differently. And I'm really happy that in some contexts it's still possible to do the documentation from the real ground, from the ground.
I just want to comment on that too. I think anyone can do human rights documentation, but especially when it comes to like criminal accountability, when you're looking at taking cases to international courts, I think that's when you want an experienced investigator to take down, you work with lawyers and others to be able to bring those criminal cases. So I think there are incidences where a specialized skill is helpful, but we always try to teach the refugee communities. But memory is also something that we could talk about all day. I wanted to open it up for questions from, do we have any online? Nothing online? Yes.
Thank you to all of you. My question would be, I think mainly to Banya, just because he's inside Myanmar, would be because it's not only about documenting, right? It's also about archiving these stories and this information. So I'm curious about who do you send the documentation to? And how, and what kind of measures do you take in order to make sure that that documentation doesn't go into the hands of the wrong people? And maybe it's also for everyone else if you have that experience.
Panyan, didn't you hear the question for you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. First of all, we also concerned about this after 2 years of the documentation in Ukraine state. Today, what we do is we start to come up with we call a kind of the measurements of the keeping the data among ourselves, even first among ourselves. I mean, among ourselves means between the documenter, the filing keeper, and also like like me or myself, the one who were trying to feeding the international community or the media on the case of the human rights violations. This is quite complicated, and also this is we call this a very fragile issue. Not only amongst ourselves, and you can see that some of the researcher and also the other like study researcher and the other freedom people who trying to contact and asking the possibility of the sharing those informations. And also we talk with also some of our friends among in the U.S. And that they just told me that you should not pass on some of those information to those people. But another thing, and what we do now, like I mentioned, we don't have a very comprehensive like the database so far. Yes, what we do, we just type in all the informations, and then all the paperwork are destroyed after that. Secondly, we keep in our we call the hard disk only, and now we send some of our data. So we do the analysis first now. After analysis of the data, and then we send to Thailand, because we have office in Thailand, which is more safer. Not only in the cyber issue, internet cyber issue, is about because in Ukraine state we have to remove around, and so we cannot ensure one place is safe enough to work on there for longer. So we do not know. So that's why we send some of our data in Thailand to keep somewhere in Thailand. But very honestly, it is very simple, still very simple. We don't have, we try to do like a kind of Google Drive. We start to keep in a Google Drive, but by the technical reason and also financial issues, so we cannot procure more safer or higher tech to keep all those information. Yes.
So we usually use special database to keep all the documented cases. This database was developed just for documentation, for the interviews to be kept there, and there's a different forms of access or levels of access to the relevant interviews. So some interviews might be used only by us, some might be used by Ukrainian authorities, some only by international authorities. It really depends. Moreover, the witness or survivor whom we documented the case, he or she might change his mind in some time and change the level of access. So usually it happens with the conflict-related sexual violence cases, when sometimes when you just take it the first interview, person might say that she or he is not ready to share anywhere, just sharing with you this information. but good psychological support or different forms of, or just, different circumstances the person might go through his or her life. Things changes, and usually they may call and say, like, I'm ready for the court proceeding, so let's change the access. So we keep it there, and and have different forms of access there.
And for Fortify rights, I think we focus on the conduct in-depth research, right? And with that research, of course, we're not going to just publish and let it sitting on the shelf. We actually bring that to discuss. But then after we publish, and it's not only just the published report. Sometimes we do other kind of the outputs as well. For example, theme and the new release. It depends on what is the target audience that we focus on, and also to engage. I think we do a lot of kind of levels. Sometimes if it's, for example, about the legal status for refugee. Maybe we focus more on the Thai government, to initiate some kind of special protection for them, and also international levels UN UN Special Rapporteur. They're also interested in kind of an international organization, and especially if they pretty sure that this is kind of the strong investigation. So for us, it's kind of strong investigation. It's kind of the first step that you have to take, and we do believe a strong investigation would be a foundation of the strong advocacy. So after that, I feel it would be easier for us to identify who would be the one that we can engage with. And even the media outlets, that could be one of our target as well, because something really needs to be put a lot of spotlights to make people feel oh, this has happened and we need to do something. So the coverage, the widespread coverage by the international media is also one of our target as well.
I might just add a little bit on collecting evidence. In Myanmar particularly, when the International Investigative Mechanism on Myanmar, the IIMM, was created, they were created to collect and preserve evidence. Once they were created, we at Fortify Rights actually changed our consent process. So when we interview survivors, we also try to get consent to share onward that testimony with the IIMM. I would say we get 60% of people agreeing to share onward to either the IIMM or to the ICJ in the Rohingya genocide case. But it's, you're basically going through two different consent processes. You're getting consent to interview the person as Fortify Rights, and then you're actually explaining the mechanism, the IIMM mechanism, to make sure they understand that we can share that information onward as well. So at least in the Myanmar, for our Myanmar team, their consent process has become twice as long. So sometimes they'll do consent one day, and they'll actually do the interview the second day, because doing both in the same day is just too long. But we're trying to we always say when we collect testimony, we always want to use the testimony. We don't want to just collect it for evidence sake. We want to be able to do advocacy, submit it to a court, give it to a media outlet maybe that could help publish it. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, just quickly add. And for us, we, reflecting on what you said, usually we do interview for purposes of course, but sometimes you cannot be 100% sure what this person will tell you. You don't know. So sometimes you might expect something really important, but person not ready, or there are different circumstances might be. But in other situations, you might not expect a lot, but it might be just super important information. Or for today, you believe that it was just useless conversation, useless documentation process, but in a 6 months, when you do other investigation, you come back, you get information from this useless investigation, it will be something that change the whole situation and give you the priceless turn in the investigation process. So I would say that it's you never know. So just follow some rules is important. Survivor-centered approach to keep the data, to secure everything. But we try to value, everything, and even when something don't look very useful today, it means nothing because some things changes very fast, quickly.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I'm going to just read a question from online. Thank you so much. I'm currently working on documenting current and past political violence in Thailand. So this is especially interesting. Could you share how you strategize the use of data and who is the primary target group for the documentation? So basically, who is the primary audience? Who is the primary target group for the documentation? Yeah, this person's working on Thailand, but I think the question's around who's the primary target for documentation.
I think primarily focus of Fortify rights, we focus on the survivor, and I think I mentioned a little bit before that we also interview kind of the communities around to understand for the better understanding of what happened. So first would be the survivors. It's kind of the first hand and the eyewitnesses that see what happened and be able to share at least. And also when we mention the local community, the front lines, the de facto, I already mentioned that we also document sometimes or interview people that actually called perpetrator, want to understand what their thoughts and what would be the insight. But maybe when Oksana said that maybe they would share anything, but we would feel even something that could be true or not, but everything that we get kind of the information, we would say that we kind of the person that document this, but we're not judging any information that we got. So it's kind of every evidence, everything that we got will be kind of useful for document what happened and what people actually said about that incident or the situation. So I'm not sure if I actually answer all the question, but that could be our primary focus. You want to share?
Want to share? Primary target, I think, of the documentation, I think is the question. Yeah.
I don't know how to reply, honestly.
Okay.
So, survivors, families of survivors, witnesses, sometimes person that knows someone who was a witness or knows someone who is a victim and cannot speak anymore. So different. I would not say that it's a one group. So yeah, and the thing is that just very quickly say that we came here as Truth Hounds today to Fortify rights, and thank you again to being here. Is just to discover the new area for us, and this area will be about human trafficking from Southeast Asia to Russian army and to Russian territory to work on military plans or being forced to fight for Russian army. And this is quite a new track for us, a new way of thinking even about who will be our audience, so to document. So classical form, I mentioned before, you have classical documentation is witnesses, survivors, those who might get information. But when it comes to a lot of countries, different tracks, and so I think we have to be very flexible and think and be open-minded to see as more, to get as more information as is possible. So I would not say what is our main focus. Our main focus is the goal, and we will get it with all the ways that will be possible, and that will be in line with our values.
Yeah, thanks. That's helpful. Banya, do you have anything to add?
Small thing. One thing in the first finding mission of the Ukrainian Human Rights Group, we are clearly targeted on the survivor, and also another round of the things that we call the human rights documentations. In this case, sometimes we also think about not only the survivor, also the impact that it can be affected to the family of the survivor. All the, how to say, we call another group of people, who also targeted, we call the people who've been affected by armed conflict. For example, they fled from their hometown, even though their member of themselves is not be harmed, but their property or the home would be left over there. But when they fled into the IDP camp, so what about their life? For example, opportunity, health care of their children, education, livelihood activity, daily survival. This kind of impact also we are also targeting. It's not only about the survivor, also the community itself. And also our primarily we can say this our accountability. What we heard about it, we did our contributor to share this information, to ensure them the global or the community, the international community, to hear about the story of the Ukrainian people, to know about the life of the people in the Ukrainian state, how the hardship net, what are the need of the people, how the suffering, how the fear of the people in the Ukrainian state. I think this is our accountability. So we are also using all this information as an advocacy tool, and also this is also asking, a voice of the people is about the mercy that we are need, we are eager here. We are also the same. Yes, the mercy from the people outside around the world. Yeah.
Thank you, Banyan. We're at about an hour and a half, and so I don't want to keep you super long, but we can maybe take one more question if we have one online or from the audience. Oh yeah, you're right. We have a little bit longer. I wanted to ask a little bit about the accountability process and how that's working in Ukraine. I think Banyan and us can talk a lot about the challenges in Myanmar and the frustrations, I think, in Myanmar. But it would be great to hear about how accountability is going in the Ukraine, because a lot of the evidence is going towards the accountability processes.
Okay, so huge. So starting from inside, and the first challenge I think is the number of criminal cases that are already open and have to be investigated inside the country. So the number of criminal cases is huge, is enormous. And it's understandable that they will not be proceeded. It's just impossible from just human points of view. It's just impossible. So there are some legal strategies how, government tries to work with this. Office of the Prosecutor General tries to work with this, but it's a big challenge because the number of conflict is going on. So Russia bombing Ukraine literally every day, and people dying every day. So it's in the capital of Ukraine and in other cities. It's not only on the front line. It's all around the country, and the number of cases is just growing. So it's not like it was stopped, freezed, and now we have to investigate it. It's just an ongoing process. And as I said, there's a couple of strategies, but still, we already understand that even having quite a good, as much as it's possible, but quite good investigators inside the country who are ready to investigate. We have even some possibilities on international level. I mean, talking about the ICC, but it's just a little. So it's important, but it's separate part of the process. But the biggest part will possibly not be investigated. And we as civil society now start the conversation about different forms of memorialization and other forms of work with this legacy, and how we can meet the needs of survivors and families of victims, and what could be done, because it's enormous. It's huge, and no one has an answer of what to do. The good thing is that civil society in Ukraine tries to open cases in other jurisdictions. So we engage and we try to motivate other countries to investigate crimes that were committed in Ukraine based on different legal things, like, or sometimes the victim is the citizen of other country or something else. It depends. But it's super complicated, it's super long, it's very political. So, and again, it's just the peanuts, it's just nothing. It's just 1 to, 10 cases, and that's all. The most challenge is without an answer.
Maybe Banya, can you talk a little bit about domestic accountability in Karenni State? I know you're part of the interim executive council. I know there are judges there, systems of justice there. Maybe you want to talk about domestic justice in Myanmar and maybe your thoughts on international justice globally?
Yes, we are experts now that the accountability of the international had to be actions. But also we admit that the reality that it might take longer time, and also some of the cases maybe disappear on the air. On the other hand, also the judiciary process and the justice process in the Korean state in Burma also very crucial. Even the Korean state, we call the Korean state interior judiciary, PSIJ, there. This is the one of the institutions that is not under IC. It's according to the Korean state Korean interior arrangements. But somehow there is so many challenges. For example, so many cases that were related to the armed people, armed personnel. In this case, it's coming very crucial for the judicial platforms. Always call about this is the revolution period, so it's hardly to take in the full accountability and also to judge it all the cases in what particular law. This is another crucial. And also another thing is about the law. I mean about the when you come up with a law enforcement. It's not about the judicial issue. Also, rule of law. Also, I need to be ensured by the police. But as you know, in Myanmar, in Burma, for instance, the police are used as one of the tools. No, it's not really the key actor that procures the security and the rule of law for people in Burma for a long decade already. They are jabbing off the tool for the military in some time. But in the Ukrainian state, we try to struggle, and also one of the main issues for us is working together, or I would say a kind of compromising issue among the armed organization and among the armed personnel in the Ukrainian state. But it's not that easy now. Because I think only the reasons is that people are not trust the judicial process in Burma so far, also in the Korean state, and also the judicial themselves, and so quite fear the power of the armed or personnel or the armed organizations. The influence of these people are quite high. For the activist, for the human defender, although this is quite rich for us, this is one of our challenges. We are not complaining, but we are trying to say that if you are mentioning yourself that you are thinking peace, justice, and democracy in Burma, you should evolve. Now you should not touch this kind of the crime against. You should evolve now. This is involved in the peace and involved in the rule of law, involved in the who are committed crime have to be in the justice process. This is our we encouragement. So what we do that we train a lot of we conduct a lot of the human rights training, international law to the armed organization. Especially namely we conduct with the KMPP, KMPLF, PDF, KNDF. We do almost every week. We have those kind of training for them. But it might take time. For the leader of those group, they are quite concerning. They are in the respected of these kind of norms. But in some level of the soldier and then the second leader, some of them are very tough, still very tough now. They did so far that we can do. We hope we need to do something today for ensure tomorrow that there will be peace and also there will be rule of law, there will be federal democracy for the people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Banyan. Any questions online or from the audience? Yes.
Yes, I would like to hear a little bit more on the situation in Ukraine because we perceive from the news almost every day there still be like the attacks and other things happening. I'm interested to know like the sentiment of the people, of the civilian over there in the community. What do they feel and what future that they like thinking of? Would there be any way to mitigate the violence or the attack and how do people feel in terms of security, safety and how do organizations like Truth Horns is working in order to get like information you already talked about information, but in terms of like security measure like for yourself and yes, for the situations that happening like every day.
Yeah, thank you very much. The short answer will be there is no safe space in the whole territory of Ukraine. Maybe in the basement in some areas, but even not every basement is safe. Depends on the kind of missile that might hit this place. So that's the main issue, and the level of attacks are growing. And now we see, like before, it was more just cruise or ballistic missiles in small parts of drones. But starting from 2023, there are more and more so-called Shaheds. This is big drones that produced. It's a good question. Yeah, they were produced in Iran, I think, or Iran supported, provide Russia with these drones, and they carry a lot of explosive elements inside, and they're very, very dangerous. Moreover, the week before, first time we found on the Ukraine government-controlled territory these Shaheds with artificial intelligent element inside. So AI already is in drones that might carry explosive element that might really ruin the huge building. So it's the reality we are living in. And again, there is no safe space. The thing is that the way nice. How these attacks are organized, we believe that it's a part of the process of, we call it like terrorizing of civilians. Because usually they do it at night, and the UN and other institutions, they have already released a position that Russians attacked by these drones and other forms of drones civilians. They usually do it at night, so most of us, we deprived of sleeping at night. You have to work during the day. You cannot sleep at night. You never know where this drone might fall. So every person feels that, I'm sorry for saying that, but being in Ukraine at night, you never know if you will survive till morning, and that's the reality. Like you're getting used to it in some way, but still it's like the normal life is going on. So you have to be at work at 8, you have to perform, you have your kids go to school or to kindergarten, and there are many issues around this. So how we work with security? complicated question. So sometimes when it's possible, we try to use shelters during some forms of air alerts when we are in big cities and where it is possible, because we don't have enough shelters, even in the capital of Ukraine. What can I say about suburbs or other regions of Ukraine? But still, like, our documenters try to use some techniques that are very new, and mostly before they were used by military, but now we at least try to use them. So we have a special, I know it's like a thing, that detect drones that might be around. So when they go closer to the front line, they use this monitor, so they see if drone is somewhere. And it's not the best, and we are not military, so we are, it's just what we try all our best. But we try at least to monitor and maybe to prevent, so we can, use our car, to use the other route or something like this. Moreover, Ukraine is, there are a lot of mines in Ukraine now, all around the territory that was under the occupation. And you cannot even, use the car, you want to go to this or that village, you cannot use any routes except of those who were demined. And that's another challenge. So usually we know these routes, we try to use them. But can you imagine if it's a drone with explosive element above you and two, mines, filled with the mines in it. So it's quite challenging. We try all our best. Still, we are continue our work, but two our colleagues were killed. One, her name was Victoria Melina. She was a writer and documenter at Hounds, and she was killed in Kramatorsk because of the Russian missile. And another our colleague, he was mobilized to army, and he was killed being in army. So, and I would say that I don't know any family in Ukraine that was not affected by this war. That is.
Thank you for that. I think we're very lucky here in Bangkok, and we hope you can rest a little bit while you're here. I'm going to ask Banya the same question about security in Myanmar and how you keep your teams safe.
Thank you. This is the same question that several people, several friends of me asking me how you survive there. I just said only the first shot, only the first airstrike or only the first shelling. If not hit me, I'm safe. Because we don't have a proper bunker. We stay in the jungle with a small hut or small house, and even though we don't have the enough space to build bunker. No, when you look, hopefully some of our friends will visit in the Quinley state. So in some of the IDP areas, it's very small, very crowded, and then they have a small, deeper pool now. But only one thing, that the first shot or the first strike, the first sharing, if not hit you, you will survive. This is what I say. The first thing. Secondly, yes, we are also, asking our friends. Also, we have several like CSO, CBO, and also even the IEC or the Department of we call the Humanitarian and Rehabilitation Departments. We conducting several, we call the early warning, early response activity or program in Ukraine state to ensure that the civilians were knowledgeable to evacuation process, and also to have a mindset, the knowledge of the reactions on the the process of even though the drone or the airstrike or the motor sharing, especially we are targeting or the audience is about the school and the hospital, and also the amount of the bigger IDP camp. And so for our charisma team, so I just tell them that you should have a small burden in your office. now you have a small burden. One thing. The second thing, I just tell them that you are one of the simulator in the current state that you will be targeted, or you will be anytime by you can be returning after victim of this motor sharing or the airstrike, or when you're walking into the field to do the documentation, you can step on a landmine or as well. So this kind of knowledge you should have. So we conduct several like the mind education among awareness process among ourselves, and also we ask them to learning about the early warning, early response mechanism that training by the other CSO or NGO, and also finally I told them that if you're not ready to work in anymore with the documentation with the Karenni group, you are welcome. You are welcome, because we cannot promise your life, but we see that this is our responsibility. This is our accountability for our people. This is what I can say to them. But I'm so lucky. They are very happy. They learn together. And also we have a small, we call the a small hole for them in and where our office they can hiding by themselves. And also they have experience. They're sharing motor sharing here nearby our place. But we are lucky. We're still lucky. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Banya. I think we have one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up for this evening.
Yes, I also would like to ask Banya about the situation along the border, Thai and Myanmar border, because as we are aware that the aid cuts by the USAID to support on the livelihood and also on the health service. So I'm not sure whether it's affect to the populations or the people that you are working with or not, because I understand that when there's a situation nearby the borders, so sometimes people cross and seek assistance from Thailand border. So I'm not sure, yes, the aid cuts, whether like make the life of the people on the front line more difficult or not, or any effect, or whether there is no effect at all.
Thank you so much. Not only the USAID cut now, and also some of the country also reduce the certain of the supporting Burma issue. Honestly, yes. We counted already. Also, we have several data that it is mostly directly affected to the people basic needs like food. And also, secondly, it is affected to the health program in the current state. Why? Firstly, the food, it is, we cannot, grow, or we cannot, cultivate enough amounts per day in the current state. We need to buy or procure from outside the current state, and also from Thailand. This is the need for us to survive, and also, as you know, in the Korean state, one of the poorest state in Burma. Also, we don't have much strong economy, and now the people are flat about 5 years already. So this is still very limited of the daily income among in the family member, especially for the IDP. It's almost nothing. So they are so much depending on the international support. In this case, people are been suffering a lot. We hear every day complaining that we just borrow rice for our neighboring. We don't have money to return those people. Please help us. And also now we reduce our amount of the amount of the ration order by daily. Before we eat 3 times, now we eat 2 times. Now we need to every single time that we need to reduce amount of 50% of the ration of food for our daily needs. It's become a, for me it's become a daily life that what I heard from them. And one thing, and the secondly, like for the medical issue, I think very important. People are being suffering not only about the food and also for the vaccination issue. It's a very serious issue for us, and also for the medical supplies. It's almost cut out by SAC in Myanmar side, no? And also we always have a hope that the only border churner from Thailand, it can be procured from Thailand. But we have to understand that the inflation rate in Burma, the chart is now is almost gone, no? So even though a single paracetamol in Thailand is very cheap, but when it reaches in Burma, in Quinley state, it is the price so high because of the inflation rate of the chart. And also people are hardly eager to buy these things. So we are also so much dependent on the we call the free of charge by the charity and the CSO who operating the CDM who operate the hospital in the current state. This is one thing. The other thing is not only about money by international support, also the restriction of the SAC. For example, even though today we are hardly to buy the salt that we put for it. This kind of page, 1 kilogram of the salt before it's only 500 baht. It's about 4 or 5 baht. Now it's a 2,000 baht. 2,000 baht. It's about 100 baht. So how people are able to procure this salt? More than that, now the transport road from the other side of the Burma into Quinley state was totally cut off. So we don't have salt today in the Quinley state. Luckily, some of the family they just buy and they store some. But now we need to find another channel. Now border channel and the other international assistance to assist. But we believe our people are also strong enough. I always say that we people are quite strong enough. But even though how much we are strong, we need your mercy. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Banya. We're about out of time now. I'm going to give our speakers just 30 seconds each to give closing remarks, or a minute. But yeah, we're running a little bit low on time. So just 1 minute to give your final remarks. Well, 1 minute is fine. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you very much. Just want to say that Ukraine is far from Southeast Asia, but I believe that there are many possibilities how we can support each other and how we can work together against atrocities and against human rights abuses and international crimes. So what I would say is we now started, as I said, the process of investigation on how people from Southeast Asia could find themselves suddenly in Russian army or in Russian territory working on the military plans. If you know something, if you have any information, if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone who might have some information, please let us know. It doesn't have to be super proved evidences. Give us just something. The more we know, the quicker we will be able to find the people, and we will do as much as we can to return them safely back to their home. Thank you.
Jan?
For me, I would say as an organization that really conduct the investigation, I feel like our work is still kind of like we believe in what we do is because we believe that we can reflect, we can speak on behalf of the survivors and make sure that their voice would be seen, like they would feel like their voice would be heard and they would be feeling like seen and also feeling supported by someone, because I feel like it's also like important for people when they realize that they didn't fight this alone, but actually like someone really like be in the same side and trying to get through all these like hard and difficult moment with them. And yeah, I think this is like keeping us like the passion and also like the motivation to still like working on like the situation. Like when I talk to like many like Myanmar refugees, they're all sharing kind of like that what they face and the situation in Myanmar, and we feel such like privilege like to be here like sitting in a room with no airstrike, with no drones. And that's really make me feel like, yeah, we should like probably do something to help these people.
Thank you, Jam. Banyan?
Thank you. I always smile. No? I always give my smile to the IDP or the people who are suffering. Why? Because the people need your smile. The suffering people, the victim people need to smile. This is, I don't say that, I smile. I made a joke when I was there, so they are laughing at me. So I need your smile also. I need your joke to encourage to me also. I need your encouragement. From this encouragement, your smile, your hands, and also I will give my smile to the people who are more suffering than me. Thank you.
Thank you, Banyan.
Thank you, Banyan. Thank you.
We're going to close out today. It was really great to be able to link Truth Hounds with Myanmar groups and be able to be with you this week in Thailand and in your meetings and a small part of the work. We're honored by both the work that Truth Hounds does and Karenni Human Rights Group. So thank you so much for talking to us today. Thank you all. Have a good Friday. I just found out yesterday. I was Googling your name.